Have you ever sensed a hidden dislike behind someone's polite smile? Perhaps you've caught the subtle jabs, the cold glances, or the passive-aggressive remarks that leave a knot in your stomach. These are not random slights. They reveal deep truths about human nature. Today, we'll uncover the 8 hidden reasons why people may secretly resent you. And more crucially, how to face this reality with the unyielding calm of Stoic philosophy. This isn't about harboring bitterness or seeking revenge. It's about mastering yourself, standing firm in your virtue, and rendering the negativity of others powerless. By the end of this, you'll not only understand why people harbor these feelings, but also how to remain unshaken, centered, and free from the weight of their judgments. Through the lens of Stoicism, we'll transform these challenges into opportunities for growth, equipping you to live with clarity and strength in a world often clouded by envy and misunderstanding. 8 reasons people secretly resent you. A Stoic perspective. 1. Envy of your success. The first reason is envy. People may resent you because you've achieved something they haven't, whether it's success in your career, confidence in your demeanor, or a life that reflects your values. Envy arises when others fixate on what you have, instead of cultivating their own potential. As Stoics, we understand that envy is a self-inflicted wound, born of comparison and discontent. Marcus Aurelius reminds us how much time he saves who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks. Their envy is not a judgment of your worth, but a mirror of their inner turmoil. Stoic response. Do not let others' envy sway you. Focus on your own path, rooted in virtue. When a colleague begrudges your promotion, recognize it as their struggle, not yours. Continue to act justly, live purposefully, and let their discontent fade into the background. Your duty is to your character, not their approval. 2. Resentment of your confidence. The second reason is your self-assurance. People often bristle at those who carry themselves with calm certainty, unbothered by external opinions. Your confidence, when grounded in reason and virtue, can unsettle those wrestling with their own insecurities. Stoicism teaches that true confidence comes from within, from aligning your actions with wisdom and courage, not from the fleeting praise of others. Stoic response. Let their resentment be a reminder to stay humble yet resolute. Epictetus said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength when your composed presence provokes discomfort. Say when a friend snaps at your calm handling of a crisis, remain steadfast. Speak less, act with integrity, and let their unease pass like a storm you need not enter. 3. Discomfort with your authenticity. The third reason is your authenticity. Living true to yourself, speaking honestly, refusing to wear masks, can make others uneasy, especially those who conform to societal expectations. Your refusal to play along with pretense exposes their compromises. Stoics value living in harmony with nature and reason, not bending to the whims of the crowd. Your authenticity is a declaration of inner freedom, and that freedom can feel like a rebuke to those still chained to approval. Stoic response. Never sacrifice your truth for acceptance. Seneca wrote, "Why should I listen to the crowd when I know what is right?" If a family member mocks your unconventional choices, perhaps your decision to pursue a passion over a safe career, see it as validation of your integrity. Stay true to your principles, and their discomfort will lose its power over you. 4. Projection of their insecurities. The fourth reason is projection. People often see your strengths or flaws as a mirror reflecting their own shortcomings. If you excel where they feel inadequate, they may resent you to avoid facing their own doubts. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Their negativity is a projection of their inner conflict, not a reflection of your value. Stoic response. Practice emotional detachment. When a co-worker criticizes your work ethic despite your dedication, recognize they're projecting their own fears of inadequacy. Respond with calm indifference, focusing on your own duties. By refusing to internalize their judgment, you preserve your inner peace and render their projections irrelevant. 5. Disruption of their comfort zone. The fifth reason is that you challenge their comfort zone. By questioning norms, refusing to conform, or striving for excellence, you disrupt the complacency others cling to. Your courage to step beyond mediocrity, whether by starting a business or embracing a disciplined lifestyle, can feel like a threat to their ego. Stoicism embraces discomfort as a path to growth, seeing criticism as an opportunity to refine your character. Stoic response. Use their resistance as fuel. When a friend scoffs at your new fitness routine, saying it's too intense, see it as evidence you're breaking free from the ordinary. Marcus Aurelius advised, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Let their discomfort affirm your commitment to growth and keep moving forward. 6. Your success highlights their stagnation. The sixth reason is your success. When you achieve, grow, or evolve emotionally, it shines a spotlight on others' stagnation. Your progress, whether a promotion, a personal transformation, or newfound resilience, can make them feel left behind. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Their resentment stems from a scarcity mindset, not from any flaw in you. Stoic response. Stay focused on your own journey. If a sibling resents your new business venture while they remain stuck in a dead-end job, don't dim your light to ease their discomfort. Instead, embody the Stoic principle of focusing on what's within your control, your actions, your growth. Their envy is their burden, not yours. 7. Fear of losing control over you. The seventh reason is control. People resent those they can't manipulate or intimidate. Your independence, your refusal to be swayed by guilt trips, flattery, or social pressure, threatens those who rely on controlling others to feel secure. Stoicism teaches that true freedom lies in mastering your own mind, not in bending to others' demands. Stoic response. Embrace your sovereignty. When a manipulative colleague tries to guilt you into taking on their work, calmly decline and hold your ground. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." By prioritizing your principles over their tactics, you become untouchable, and their attempts to control you lose all power. 8. Misunderstanding your intentions. The eighth reason is misunderstanding. Some people resent you because they misjudge your actions or intentions, leaping to conclusions based on their biases or incomplete information. Perhaps they see your reserved nature as arrogance, or your ambition as selfishness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone is mistaken, it is better to correct them with kindness than to resent their error." Their hatred often stems from ignorance, not from any fault of yours. Stoic response. Respond with compassion and clarity, but don't chase their approval. If a neighbor misinterprets your quiet demeanor as standoffishness, offer a kind word or gesture, but don't bend over backward to change their mind. Focus on living virtuously, and let their misjudgments dissolve in the face of your consistent character. The Stoic path forward. These 8 reasons Envy, resentment, authenticity, projection, disruption, success, independence, and misunderstanding reveal the complexities of human nature. But the Stoic lesson is clear. You cannot control others' emotions, only your own. Their hidden resentment is powerless against a mind fortified by virtue, discipline, and self-mastery. Imagine a co-worker who makes snide remarks about your recent success. Instead of reacting with anger or self-doubt, you pause, reflect, and recognize their words as a reflection of their own struggles. You respond with calm dignity, focusing on your work and values. This is Stoicism in action, turning external negativity into an opportunity for inner strength. To live free from others' hatred, anchor yourself in what you can control: your character, your actions, your thoughts. As Epictetus said, there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Let their opinions drift like clouds, while you remain rooted in wisdom and purpose. If this has illuminated the hidden dynamics of human behavior and strengthened your resolve to live with Stoic clarity, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more insights on mastering yourself in a chaotic world. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My peace is my power. In a world swayed by envy and misunderstanding, the Stoic stands unmoved, grounded in virtue, and free from the chains of others' judgments. Choose that path, and watch their secret resentments become as insignificant as dust in the wind.